Can you guys see the screen? Hello.
Yeah, we are able to see.
Okay, fine. So as like a few people are new, I'll try to cover like what is covered as part of this training, and Lekana and Ramanujam, I'll try to cover like what Guidewire is and something like once everyone is dropped. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anyone apart from Lekana and Ramanujan who did not join yesterday's class? I think others are from yesterday's class, right? Yeah, I think all of you are like there in the yesterday's class. Okay, okay. So quick glance, like what will be covered, the topics will be covered. So the first few days or 2 3 classes, we'll try to cover the configuration part, like what is.
Sorry for the interruption.
Huh.
Before starting, can you record the session?
Yeah, yeah, it is recorded. It is getting
Okay.
recorded. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
thanks.
yeah, this class, like I will record in the this thing. So once I get a confirmation from you people, so I'll be recording it over the Teams business. I mean Google Meet business one. So I'll share the recordings over there. Okay. So after like
Okay.
after the completion of the class, like I need the Gmails of you people so that I can share the link for the path. I mean the zip folder of this suit, so that you can get it installed in your system. So you can continue with the practice. Okay, fine. So currently the scope is like, so we will cover configuration for the first few days. That is nothing but the data model, how the data, the model we will how we will uh, frame the things. Let's say the requirement comes, how we will try to frame such that it will be inserted into the database. So any system or any language or anything, so it has to have a database for it to save the information. So this data model is like how we create the data related items in the guideware. Okay, then comes the PCF, like how the UI is configured, like how the screens are there, how we navigate from one screen to another screen, how we will structure them, how to add new screens. Those things will be covered as part of this. Okay, so this is configuration is both specific, it is not specific to you mean like policy center or claim center, it is common across the centers. Like this is common to both policy center, claim center and billing center. So after that we will cover the integration concepts which are common to both policy center and integrate billing center and claim center. Like in gosu, what is a gosu language, how do we do it, the queries, bundle concept, validation, gosu validations, whatever we have, gosu rules. So all these will be covered. And then comes the messaging integration architecture, like how we will message, create the messages, trigger it, and why do we use it. And then comes the restful web services, like soap and restful are there. I mean web services, soap and rest are there. So basically like nowadays like they are replacing soap with this rest. So batch process plugins also will cover. At the end, right after this integration concept, which are common to both claim center and policy center, we will start with policy center basics. And like what we will have, like underwriting issues, product model, policy life cycle, like policy change, rewrite, reinstate, cancel, those things, along with UW issues, product model, how do we configure product model, all this will be coming in the policy center. Okay, so and then comes the claim center, right, like coverages, claims, exposures, loss types, those things will be covered in the claim center specific part, like what is a transaction, checks, how the checks are created, what is a reserve, those everything, all the details related to claims center will be covered. So if I teach those details at the first, so it will be little confusing. Like I will cover what is common to both the centers first, and then on top of it we will have the center specific. Like so if it is in such a way that you can put your profile, as most of you have to update your resume, like telling that I have been working in this center or that center. So based on the requirement, you can update your resume as your policy center developer or a claim center developer. Okay, so that's up to you, like how do you want to project here in the resume, depending on the openings out there. So currently market we have both claim center and policy center openings. Okay, and again coming to experience, right, until 4 years you can project yourself as a configuration developers, and if your experience is more than 4 years, they expect integration parts also to be known from your end. And if you want to project, let's say someone is having 7 years of experience and you want to project like first 4 years into some other domain and the last 3 years into Guidewire, so in that case you can just project as a configuration developer, but they expect, as you were like a little lead level position, they'll expect 3 years like integration also they'll expect it. So you need to have that thing from your end. Okay, just give me a minute. Just having a cup of tea, just give me a minute. Yeah, sorry guys. Okay, so let's get started. So first, like, is the screen visible properly? Like, the notes and all.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, I will show the studio as well, like how it looks. Let me close all this. So guys, so whenever you open the studio, this is how it looks. So how to open the studio? I'll like let me close this. Okay. So everyone is new to the Guidewire, right? Or I mean,
Yeah.
is there anyone who has a little idea into Guideware, like a development part? I just want to understand like how the okay. So basically, like if you see, right, there is we'll usually have the folder. If you see, right, there claim center and policy center. So it is like a folder, you will have it, and we have to open there and run a command so that the studio opens. Okay, so let me close. So I think everyone has Windows, right? Windows laptops.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, so once I share it, share the path, I mean patch file or the zip file, I'll someone can share the screen so that I help you like how to do it. Okay. Meanwhile, if someone can drop it, I'll share the path. Manohar, if you can.
బ్రో బ్రో చెప్పండి.
ఇది ఒక ప్యాచ్ ఫైల్ నేను జిప్ ఫైల్ ఇస్తా సోర్స్ కోడ్కి.
ఓకే బ్రో.
ఎవరైనా కన్ఫర్మ్ అయిన వాళ్ళ మెయిల్ ఐడి ఇస్తే నేను వాళ్ళకి పంపిస్తా.
నేను పర్సనల్గా మెయిల్ ఐడీస్ అన్ని సెండ్ చేస్తా బ్రో, కన్ఫర్మ్ అయిన వాళ్ళవి.
ఓకే ఓకే ఫైన్. అవి చేస్తే నేను అవి షేర్ చేస్తా సో దట్ దే కెన్ ఇన్స్టాల్ ద సిస్టమ్స్.
ఓకే బ్రో.
So I'll show how it usually like opens. Let me, if you see right, it is a Mac. So what I'm doing is I'm going to that path where my folder is there. Let me open. Where is it? Someone joined. Sorry. It is Guidewire suit setup. So just I went to that location and /GW studio. So usually in this thing, Windows, you will just open the command prompt from that location where your code is there and open that and we'll run GWB studio. So again we have claim center open. So we either can have policy center or claim center open. Okay. So for another class, it was claim center is going on. That's why I just open claim center and show you. And if you are looking for policy center, I can do it in the next class. Like we will. So how do you guys want in the training to be in the claim center or policy center studio?
Policy center.
Fine.
Policy
Okay.
center.
Yeah, good. So I'll open the policy center in the coming class because already some of the it is set up. So I'll open the claim center studio today, and like from the next class I'll open the policy center. Okay, because if I open right, it will take a lot of time for this at the starting. Okay, so this is how my class. There should not be any this dot backslash. So in Windows, right, you will not use this. You will just go to the command prompt, and this dot slash you will not use. Just gwb space studio. So what it does is it will run and set up the studio and open the place where we will use the coding and all. So this step, right, opening the studio. So always whenever we close it, you again has to come here and open the studio. Okay. And everyone knows like how the what is this building and deploy. Anyone needs an idea what is a build and a deployment? Even if you do not know, yeah, tell it. I'll explain it. Not an issue. Sorry, what was it? I did not get it.
Can you explain it, sir? Once?
Sure. Yeah. So basically build is nothing but, so we will make some code changes in our code, right? So whenever we click on build or whenever we want to build your application, it will see whether all the changes are fine or not. So is there any syntax error? Is there some errors there? So in that case, build will fail. So build is making sure that all the changes are properly aligned, like no errors, no syntax errors, no uh, normal errors. So those are the static kind of checking. Okay. So deployment is like deploying the changes. So you will get some either a jar or those kind of patch or a code that will be deployed in any server, so that Once the deployment is done, right, the changes are available to the end user on the UI. So user can access those changes in the outside world with the help of a web portal. Okay, so that is like deployment. Building is to your local, like checking whether the errors are there or not, and deployment is like outside world. So after that is done, right, if you see, this is how the studio is first time. Okay, so it looks like this. So two common shortcuts you have to remember: Control Shift N. Okay, if you see, right, even this is for Mac, do not see, forget it. So Control Shift N is like file search. So you want to search the file name, let's say claim, so dot ATX. So it will be claim file search. Okay, it is a file search. Now one more thing is Control Shift F. It is a search inside the files. Like if you want to search for a particular thing, like policy number, I want to search, so it will search in the entire files, like search inside it. So these are the everyday usage shortcuts. You should be knowing it. Control Shift in N is for file search, and Control Shift F is for the search of the elements, or like string search inside all the files. So you can select any module, or you can select the directory where you want to search. Okay, so that is like searching inside it. Okay, so this is how it is done. Okay, now we will see what is the data model. So basically, whenever you see, right, we have configuration, and inside the config, so this is where the configuration developers usually work. Okay, configuration, under which we have a config folder. So if you see, right, we have extensions and metadata, two folders. Okay, so metadata are the ones which are automatically given by the Guidewire base application. In the base application, we have all the metadata, and extensions also, these are also, some of them are given by Guidewire itself, but whenever we want to do something, so we will add it like entity or type list, we will add it in the extensions folder. Okay, we will not touch the metadata at all. So that is given, and these all are read only. If I open one of entity, if you see, right, it's a read only, and if I open any, it's a read only, and if I open next in the extensions, it is not read only. Okay, so that's the main difference. First you need to understand is metadata, whatever in the metadata is read only and is given in the base application, whereas in the extensions, so whenever there is a new requirement or some modification needs to be done, you will be doing it in the extensions folder. Okay, that is the one thing. So let me tell like what is a data model. Okay, so basically, let's say the requirement like policy center. Okay, so the people like insurance agent reaches you, and they want to insure your vehicle, right? So first thing is they'll get your details, and they'll enter in the system. They'll get your details of your vehicle. They enter in the system. So how does this? So whatever, let's say they took the details of the vehicle. So how will it get stored in the database? Okay, so that is with the help of a data model. Okay, so first they will have a vehicle. So they'll have a vehicle entity. ETI, if you see, right, vehicle details are present in the vehicle entity. So serial number, year, loan, monthly repayment, all these specific to the vehicle are present in the vehicle entity. So entity is nothing but a representation of a physical database table. You got it, right? So entity in the Guidewire. So in the Guidewire we will have entities. You see, right, this entity in the extensions also we have entity, in the metadata also. So these entities are done by us, or which we work on, and these are the out of the box entities. So entity has some extension .eta, etx, those are like, so first understanding is entity is nothing but a representation of a physical object, which is again in turn related to a physical table. Like in this scenario, your vehicle details has to be captured, so it will be a vehicle entity. And if I open, if you see right here, if I click on entity, if you see there is a vehicle table, and the name of the table is vehicle. That is nothing but it represents a physical table, and the table name is vehicle. In the database, like I'll tell, like database there is a config. So you know database, right? So there will be like Oracle, SQL or MySQL, SQL Server, MySQL. So these are the databases which will be present. So this in the database config XML, we will configure for any application. If we want to configure the database, the properties we will set it in the database config.xml. And like Oracle, if it is like, we will just uncomment it and one second, we'll just uncomment it and update it. So we'll just uncomment and update the specific details or the properties of the Oracle database, so that whenever we first time we create the entities, right? So let's say your requirement is to create a new entity for specific. So assume that insurance company is only working on personal autos, like vehicles related to the individual person. Commercial auto it is not taking care. So you want to implement your insurance company for commercial auto also. So in that, let's say your requirement is to add an entity to commercial vehicle. I need to change the permission. I don't know how to write. So your requirement is to add commercial vehicle as an entity now. So I'll just tell it like how it goes. I'll also tell like the flow ones. So you'll go and add commercial vehicle. Okay. So and the table, if you see right, automatically it tells like what's the table it has to map against. So if you want, you can make like commercial vehicle database table. So in the database, the table name will be commercial vehicle, and these columns, whatever you add it, right, it will go as a columns in the database. Okay. Entity is nothing but a physical table relationship, and the columns whatever we add are nothing but the columns in the physical database. And each entry, like let's say my vehicle details will go into one row, and some other person's details will go into another row. So every person or every vehicle will have a separate row in the database. So I click on OK. So if you see, entity is created and the table name is commercial vehicle, you can modify it. So when the entity is created, so if you see right now, I'll see do control shift F, commercial control shift N, commercial vehicle. So if you see right, there is automatically Java class got created. So we only created this, but Guidewire automatically created a Java class. Generate, if you see, it is present in the generated folder. Okay, it's a Java class. Basically, Gosu is in the background. Java is the main source for the Gosu. Gosu works with the help of Java only. We will not work it. I mean, we will not use it, but it automatically internally it will use it. So to fetch the data or to commit the data into the database, Java is used internally. So let's say I want to now we do not have any columns. Now just I'll show a high level like what it is. Now just click on it and let's say vehicle name. Vehicle name is the column name. Type is like I'll give a short text. It is nothing but telling like what is the data type it will allow. Short text means it will allow string data type. Null okay. Null okay means it will tell whether is it okay to have null values or empty values for that column. Null okay, yes, true. If I mention it as true, even if you do not enter the vehicle name, we still can save the entry into the database. Description vehicle name. Okay, and let's, after we have done it, right, so click on this. It is just to validate. Okay, so if you see, right, generating metadata. So now go to the vehicle, controller, vehicle name. You see, right, automatically the vehicle name got created. We get the vehicle name field. Getter is also created. Setters also it will create it. You see, right, setters. Automatically everything will be directly created by Guidewire by default. So we do not need to add any. Our main purpose is to modify this entity based on the requirements. So our requirement, let's assume like we got a commercial line of business, and currently our insurance only works for personal auto. So commercial auto they want. So they want to take capture the details of commercial vehicle. So we will add an entity like this, and all the vehicle details like vehicle year, vehicle make, all this we will add. And whenever we so whatever I told, right, this one is like building the project to make sure no errors are there, and this two are right server. If you see, right, so it is like deploying the server, like running the server. It is in a normal mode, it is in a debug mode. So usually in our locals we will run the server in the debug mode so that we can debug what is the error or like how the flow goes. Okay, so let's say if I click on that, so this entity whatever it is created, right, when the server is completed, server is up, about to up, they will create a physical database table in the database, physical table in the database. That the commercial vehicle table will be created. So if while doing that, it will tell, like it shows. You got like what is an entity now? Understanding? Any questions, guys? Please make it an interactive so that even if you have some questions or doubts, like some of your non-IT, like just open up. No problem, like asking questions. So if you see, first step is whenever you click on this, right, there will be two steps happening. First is building your application and then deploying the application. You see, right, validating all the changes are there properly and no other issues are there. It will validate it, and then after which like it will be deployed. Okay, now that build is successfully completed, and now the deployment started in the server. So in that, if I search the vehicle, commercial vehicle, let me search, it will come. So it will start it. So after it will take some time. First time it will take some 15 minutes, 10 minutes, but for now I think it will be very quick only. Meanwhile, let me go through the notes, like how it is there. Okay. So basically, data model is an XML format and metadata definitions of entities and pipelines. Okay. So you understood what is an entity, right? Any questions on that?
Can you give one brief line again about entity?
So entity, yeah. Okay. So entity is basically a any physical object that will be related in the guideware. Let's say vehicle or person or account or contact. All these details in the real time we have those things, but how to represent those in the guideware is like with the help of entities we represent them, so that so it will have an association to the physical database. So linking between the normal object to the database is done with the help of entities in the studio or guideware. So like let me show some examples of entities. You'll understand with the okay. We see the entity right here. So if you see activity, address, authority limit, claim, check, contact. Okay. So by the words you get to know what is these are, right? Doctor. Their details will be captured. If I open customer ext, there is a table associated with it, customer ext. And if I open doctor, there is a associated table person. Super. It's a super type. Okay. So let me open that super type person member. If you see, right, that the super type is again person. So I'll tell all this. Do not worry about super type anymore. Again, super type is contact. So here if you see the table is contact. Okay. So this represents a physical table. Nothing but how to represent table in Guidewire with the help of entity, right? Entity represents table in Guidewire. That's it on a high level. So the debug address is already using use. Yeah, Bharat.
Hi, Gopi. So this entity table is not the actual value that feed into the database, or is that the exact value feed into database?
Yeah. So actually, right, the table name will again vary a little. So if you see, it is contact basing on the claim center or policy center or billing center. So there will be an appended, like there we will append cc underscore or pc underscore or ab underscore or bc underscore to the front. The table name will be appended based on the center which we are working on. So it will not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, understood that. And one more question on this: the same data will be available in the DB, or the data will be formatted and put it into DB?
No, the same data, whatever it is needed, it is whatever we have it here will be available. We just
Okay.
need to understand how again formatting. It can be again if you are like using some kind of this thing, right? How do you say? Like personal information we'll use, right? We'll not want to display them. So in those cases, like hash, I mean MD5, those things we can use it while inserting.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. One second. One second. Yes. Sorry. Hello. Yeah. No, no, no. It's actually class is going on. Yeah. Tell me. No, no, no. Actually, you did not join yesterday. Actually, everyone wanted it at 6. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's in just a few minutes over. Like, no issues. I can send the link. You can join. Yeah, yeah, recording is also there. Yesterday was, yeah, yes. No, no, I'll send it. Yesterday was a demo session only. No issues. One second, yes, sir. Okay. So, basically, like a data model is a set of entities and type lists. So when it comes to type lists are basically used when you want to display something in a drop down. Okay, let's say states or countries or some fixed set of values that you want to display. So instead of storing it somewhere, that is the kind of place where we store fixed, I mean, what you say, constant values of any particular type. Let's say vehicle types can be like assume like vehicle, we have vehicle, and there can be types of vehicles like commercial, personal. Like in that case, we'll store these vehicle types in those things, so that instead of getting or hard coding it somewhere, we'll store it in the database under a name called type list. Okay, so how it looks, I'll show that. So it is also present in the entities metadata, metadata or extensions next to the type entity. Okay, if you see the type list, let me open any type list. So if you see, right, what it says, what are the activity types? We have general activity, approval activity, assignment and review activity, these things. Let me open something. Auto-sync. Auto-sync, disallow, allow, suspended. These are some of the hard-coded values. Claim state. What's the status of a claim? Draft. It can have draft, open, closed, archive. So these are basically like fixed set of values, or like hard-coded values. So the each value here, if you see draft, so draft will be present in the database, and the table is, and with the name of claim state, it will be like cctl or tctl underscore claim state, and the each of so it will have 4 rows, one with draft related information, other with open related information, close. So 4 rows will be inserted in the database whenever first time we start the application. Okay, so this is like type list, same. So the again, so if you see, right, in the, if you go to the text mode, so currently I'm in the normal UI mode. So if you see, right, yeah, currently, can someone go on mute? Yeah. So currently, if you see, right, we are in the normal UI mode of this type list. So there is a text mode. So how the text looks. So if you see, right, it is an XML format. It is the whatever the type list or entities, these are in the XML formats basically. So even here also we can configure. So we can here also modify, as this is a read only. I cannot. Let me open a type list of, which is so if you see accident type.ttx, see these are all the values. I can add one more here directly. Copy, enter, and paste it. You either can do it here, or you can either go to the type list and you can add it like with the help of plus, and you can add it. Okay, so this is basically an XML formatted file. Let me open the entity also and show how it looks. So it also is an XML formatted file. So now coming to the definition, let me define it. What is a data model basically? So data model is a set of XML formatted metadata definitions. Metadata are the ones which are given by Guidewire and are read only of entities and type lists. Okay. So any questions on what is an entity and a type list? So that's a base for all the Guidewire applications. So entities are just a physical representation of any real-time scenarios or real-time physical objects or any functional objects, and how assume it also it will have a physical relationship to the physical table. So whatever it is a kind of representation of a database table in a studio. That is nothing but entity, and type list is like a fixed set of values. Instead of hard coding them in the UI, we store it in the database with the help of a table, and that table we call it as a type list in the studio or a guidewire. Okay. So definition is, as both of them are in XML formatted files, we call data model as a set of XML formatted metadata definitions of entities and type lists. Okay. Any questions? Basic understanding what is a data model and like what it does, what it contains. Data model contains both two things, entities and type lists. That's it. Product model is different. That will cover in the policy center. Product model is not available in the claim center. It is available in the policy center. So product model is like configuring coverages and all. Configuring coverages, line of business, those things are product model. So it is like little advanced concept. So first you need to understand what is the base concept to any Guidewire is data model, and then on top, with the help of data model, we will configure the PCFs. Any questions? If not, we'll continue further. Okay, so let me go through the notes. It is core for all the Guidewire applications. So based to all the application, whatever it may be, it is policy, billing or claim center. So PC, BC, CC, it is common across. So when it is loaded, okay. So as I told, right, whenever we do it, Java class will be generated automatically. But so I added a, what was the entity which I had, commercial vehicle, right? So I added a commercial vehicle entity. So until now there will not be any physical table. Okay, so physical table will not be there, but whenever you load it or bring the server, automatically this commercial vehicle, there is a table associated, right? Commercial vehicle table will be created when the server is up. Unfortunately there was an issue with the server. File is logged in. I need to clear the mess up. Okay, so anyways, as you said, I'll close this claim center and I'll open the policy center from the next classes, as most of you are asking to have the policy center. Okay, even this also has some issues. Okay, so basically whenever we bring the server up, so the associated physical table will be created in the database with the name commercial vehicle. Data model is loaded on start of Guidewire, all the Guidewire applications, whatever it may be, it is entities or type list, both will be stored. Yeah, Bharat.
What if the table is already presented and
Table name?
yeah,
Yeah, it will throw an error. It will error out during the server startup.
okay.
Yeah, so that's what
It
will.
won't update the data in the same table. Or?
No, it won't update. It will throw an error. So because if you see, right, it will not know it if it whether the table is present or not, because we are doing it and we are not checking the existing tables. So when we debug, I mean when we bring the server or when we are trying to update the server, at that time only it will try to check what's the available tables, and then it will try to see. Okay. So let's assume if I make it as contact, it will save. There is no issue because already we saw, right, there was a contact table. Let me create a contact directly, small only. It will save, it will validate, it doesn't have any problems. But whenever we bring the server up, it will throw an error stating it's already there is a physical table, I mean table associated with the name contact. Okay.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Now so as part of the application startup, the loaded data instantiates the data model as a collection of tables in the application database. So that is what I was trying to tell. So whenever we start the server up, so whatever we do, we did right, metadata instantiates. I mean, whatever we add a new tables, or let's say it is like very first time. Let's say you when I give this patch to you, right, or the zip file. So whenever you first time bring the server up, at that time only all the data model entities whatever we have in the studio, let's see, if you see, right, all these will be created as a tables for the first time in your local database. So if I open database .config.xml, if you see, right, h2 database is given for you. It is for development or for training purpose. This database whatever you use in your locals are h2 database. So first time that h2 database will be empty because you did not bring the server. So whenever you start the server for the first time, all these entities and type lists which are there, which are given by Guidewire, will be they will create tables in the h2 database for the first time, and for the next time onwards, so there is a property called extensions property dot property. So this is an ember actually. So what it does is like next time onwards, if you are doing some let's say you added commercial vehicle, and what your thing has to be, you have to increase this number by 1. Otherwise Guidewire will not recognize a entity change or a data model change. Whenever you make any data model change, you have to increase the extensions by 1. Otherwise Guidewire won't recognize it and won't update the physical table. That's the main thing. So even the interviewers are lost. So let's say you did entity changes or data model changes. So what's your what are the files you commit, or you commit into the this thing. So you have to tell entity files. Along with that, we will update the extensions properties so that Guidewire recognizes or understands that. So there is a data model change, and it has to update the data and in the tables as well, or the database. Okay. Now this I showed, right, and the name person, let's assume person name is at the entities person, and we have columns like name, age and all. So it will be associated in the physical table like this. So name, age are the columns, and every specific person details will be associated as a rows. Okay. Any questions?
Copy.
Yeah.
The thing, the entity files along with the extension properties, that is that added in the notes as well?
I don't think I have added it, but let me, I need to modify that. So entities, like basically you'll get to know, like it's a concept I missed it adding in the notes. So
Yeah.
yeah, whenever you modify an entity, make sure that extensions properties has to be updated. Okay. Okay, then comes the physical. You understood like how the rows and table names are mapped. Okay. The physical table will be the name of the table. I mean, entity name is the name of the table, and all the fields are, or the columns will be the column names, and we'll not mention the rows. So rows will be available in the database against these columns. Okay. So I also told, right, whenever we do something, so we already have, I'll close others. So there is a Java file. Okay. Java file which automatically got generated. So all the interactions into the with the database, or all the programmatic things will be done with the help of these Java classes internally. So we will not touch this at all. So Guidewire. So for us, it will be like this as a straight or neat UI perspective. So we'll have this. It's a simple. If you want to add, we'll just click on this button and do it. But in the back end, it will do. If you see, right, let's say I want to here make here, in which year it is made. Type is integer, right? Let's say integer. Null, okay. Null, okay. Is it fine if we have a null values? Yes. Year in which the vehicle is made. Okay. Let me validate it. So after that, immediately this will get updated. Controller make year. You see, right? There is a property created. There is a getter added. There is a setter added. So if any one of you know Java, right, so usually like we have to add getter setters manually to either to update it or to fetch it, right? So if you want to fetch it, you will use get. If you want to update that value, use set. Okay, so these are automatically done by the Guidewire itself, so we do not need to add it. And this, whatever we do in the coding, right, it will straightforward coding only. backend will be done by Guidewire itself. We do not need to worry how it is done. So you should understand how exactly it backend works, like functionally. So if interviewer asks what's the background, like, so you can tell them. That's what XML, and there will an application. In the application, when we'll have the generated Java class along with the XML. Okay. So the definition, what I was trying to mention, right? Represent any real-time business object such as invoice, claim, person, and it will have a associated thing. So entities serve as root objects for any UI rules and all. So if you want to display something on the UI also, I think the server is up. That's why it is okay. So if you see, right, I have a claim. So this claim related information, it has to be displayed on the UI. So the claim has associated exposure, services, activities. All these has to be mapped against the claim, right? So claim has to be there in the, here in the claim center, claim is the main entity, and in the policy center, policy is the main entity. Okay. So around which we will revolve, like every relation will again map to the claim entity only. Every relation in policy center maps to the policy. Okay. So those are the main entities. So even to display something on the UI, we need to have the data model set up first. Otherwise, we cannot display or we cannot get the values from the database. So first, database, even if we insert into the database only, we will display it, right? So even if we want to insert, we need to have what fields should be displayed. Let's say I go to loss details. Like in the claim, we will tell like where the loss happened and the loss specific details happen. Let's say I want to add the vehicles which are involved in the accident. I'll click on add. Okay. So if you see, right, so I want to enter all these fields and update into, so that if I enter and click on OK, these details will be saved into the database. But again, to first display it on the UI, so we need to have a proper data models or the tables only. Then only we can tell to which entity or which column these fields should be saved. So select vehicle. So if this, it is a new vehicle. Okay. So vehicle, we already have make, right? Here if you see make year we have. So in our UI PCF we will configure such that it, whenever the person enters the year like 2005, this will be saved in the make year. This will be saved against this year. So that relation has to be happen. So first entity or the data model is the major thing for any kind of job in the Guidewire, like modification or updation or like creating new screens. So data model understanding is the base, like how it functions, how the physical table is created and how it is mapped. Okay. Any questions on this? Okay, fine. Let me see what else is there here. Okay. Entity defines set of fields that stores the information, like all the columns are called the fields or the columns. Okay. Okay, one second. So if you see, right, there are two things in the entity. Let me see. So if you see, right, make, this is the value again. Sorry. So if you see the entity, right, we have two things. So the type, primary value, and the secondary value. Secondary value indicates what's the data type it holds. let's say vehicle name usually holds the string value, right? Vehicle name will be the some what do you say, Leyland or Ashok. So those kind of information will hold like this. Make here is an integer. We cannot make it as a string and make the typecasting. So usually every year is obviously an integer. So we'll take it. Okay. So validations and all I will cover later. So basically here the first primary value is the data type. I'm sorry, the name, and the secondary value is the data type. Okay. So these are normal column. If you see, these are normal column elements or the straightforward data elements. So there are some elements or some fields which are related to some other. So let's say as it is a claim center, I'll show claim. Claim is the main entity which has all the relations. So if I close others, if you see, right, all the column, whatever you columns are straightforward elements. Okay, all the column things are straightforward elements. It is directly get stored in the claim table only. And then comes the type key values. These type key values, right, these refer to the type list values. If you see, right, claim source, what's the source of the claim? So it will not store direct value, it stores the type key ID. How it is, like claim source, if you see, right, claim source dot tti. So what's the source of your claim? Is it an ordinary or auto first and final? So it either can have this or this source in the this value. So if you see, right, death date, let's say 2026, it directly that December 1st 2025. So it automatically stores here in the claim as a row, I mean as a column in the row. But for this, right, let's say claim source, as it is a type key, it will not store the actual value, it will not store this value. So this ID in the database, this will have one row and this will have another row. The primary key ID, let's say this ID is CS1 and its ID is CS2. So assume the claim source is ordinary. So in the claim entity, we will have the type key value for this claim source. We will have CS1 stored in the claim table as a row. Understood or little confusing?
Bit confusing.
Yeah, let me give it in a note. So assume a claim we have, okay, and it's an ordinary claim. Okay, and date of death, we have few fields like date of death is there and the claim source. Okay, and we have a claim source type list which has two rows. One row is CS1 which has ordinary, and status will be, we'll have to create a date and all those, create a date, all those will be there with the default, basic fields of a entity. And CS2, here what are CS1 is a public ID. ID is CS1. Type code is ordinary. Again for this second row, ID is CS2, comma, type code is what we have. Auto first. Okay. Now we got a claim detail, and his date of death is December 1, and it's an ordinary claim. Okay. So in the physical database, all the details will be captured, like loss details, loss location, all these will be captured, something like this in the physical database, right? And when it comes to this date of death, which is a normal column, or if you see, right, date of death here, it's a normal column. So a data will be directly stored as like 1 December, something like this. Data will be stored in the database, and next few fields it is entered. Now when it comes to claim source, it is not a column, it's a relationship column or a type key. So how it is stored? And we said it is an ordinary claim. So it will store
If
CS.
you want to refer a type list in an entity, use type key, right?
Yes, that's what. That is type key is what we want to refer type list in an entity. So that's the basic definition. Just I want to show it as an example how the value, even the we refer it, right? What's the value it stores is the primary key of this one, okay, or the ID. So in the database, physical database, it is how this is how it looks. As it is a normal field, it is like this. It is a type list. We refer the ID of this one. Now it is clear. Any questions there? Okay. These are like a referring type list, and we have few other things called like foreign key, one-to-one arrays. These are the relationship elements. Okay. Now let's assume like how the policy location. Policy location is a foreign key relation to the claim. Foreign key generally is like for usually we do it to refer as a one-on-one relationship. So location code, we have location code. Let's assume for location code how we will refer. So location code will go to the location, like the policy location details will be stored here. So we have the policy location table. We will have all the details like address 1, address line 2, state, country, all these details. So whatever the user enters like blah blah Telangana, country India, that will be present. And this public ID is PL colon 1. Okay. Now this public ID will be stored in this location code so that this will be referred in the claim. Okay. It will not completely store all the details in the claim table. It will just store the public ID so that the relationship between these two happens. On the UI, you will, here you will see just a foreign key. Foreign key is nothing but referring to the primary key of a target entity or target table. Understood? Any questions there? So I want to highlight like I'll give the relation. We cover the relationship columns like we have foreign key array, which are the main relationships. So we'll cover that. Like I just want to have these data columns. Like data columns are like basically which stores the data straightforwardly into the database. Table, and it depends on the type. It can be var, char, integer, date, time. Okay. I have shown the example screenshot as well, like how it looks. And the next comes the relationship things like foreign key, directly as I showed, array. Arrays are like one-to-many relationship. If you want to implement, like let's say claim has multiple persons or multiple persons involved in an accident. So one claim will have 5 persons involved in an accident. So that is one thing. So in that case, like one will have array of, see right, contact. If you see this one, so claim contacts are the contacts involved in that claim. So we'll have one array. Let me open the claim contact. How that relates to this claim contact dot eti. If you see right, we'll add foreign key into the sub child entity, not the parent. Parent will have array of contacts, and the child we will have the foreign key to the main element. Here the main element is claim, and we'll have the foreign key relation to the name. And you need to see what's the name. Name will be the same as the source entity. Here it can have anything. The array name can be anything, but the foreign key name has to be the same as the target entity. I explained that in the notes also, it will come. Okay, so that is like linking arrays. Type key, as I showed, is to refer, associates one value from type list with a column in another entity. So with the help of type key, we will refer type list in an entity. Okay. So how many of you know this hierarchy, like inheritance concept? Anyone can tell me, like if anyone has a Java idea? What is the inheritance concept?
Yeah, that child will inherit some properties of their parent.
Correct. Okay. So the same thing can be done in the Guidewire and with the entities. So let's say we were seeing when I was showing, right, we saw contact, right? Some person somewhere, person, doctor, right, I guess. So if you see doctor, I think I opened at some point. So if you see, right, doctor is a subtype of what's the super type? Person vendor. Let me open that. Person vendor.eta. Again, this person vendor is a subtype of person. Let me open person.etl. Again, person is a subtype of whose contact super type is contact. .eti. Okay. So EAX are internal implementation. You do not need. So this is the main entity, super type. Contact is a super type. So contact has person, and this person has multiple this person vendor, and person vendor has again doctors and all those. So it's a hierarchical, like the parent is this one. So how it is like, so contact, let's say all what's the generic information, whatever is same across the sub elements, sub tables will sit in the top. I gave a good screenshots. I'll explain that. You'll understand better. Okay. So let's assume employee is a main entity or a super type entity. So here, if you see, right, we can have multiple employee types like contract employee, part-time employee, full-time employee. Okay, but name, tax ID, address will be common across all these three, right? Employee, everything, whoever it may be, either it can be part-time, contract, or everyone, but name, tax ID, and address will be common, like PAN card ID, or these will be common. So all these three sits in the main super type table. And but for contract employee, their payroll will be different, like hourly. And part-time employee, they'll have certain few fields, like what's the maximum hours they can do. So which maximum hours will not be applicable for contract.
Your voice is not clear.
Okay, is that fine now? Hello.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's good now.
Yeah. So part-time so I'll again go through. So employee, all the common information across the sub elements will store in the super type. Like in the common fields, like let's say for employee name, PAN card, address will be common. So we will add these fields in the super type entity, and whereas the specific in fields which are specific to that so subtype will be sitting in the subtype entity. Like for contract, we'll have hourly rate and the contract type. So contract type will not be needed for a part-time, right? So contract type will be available in the contract, and annual salary will not be there for a part-time employee. Annual salary will sit in the full-time. Benefits will not be available for these two people, whereas it will be available for the full-time employee. So that, so these specific information which are we need to differentiate, like full-time employee, part-time employee, all these. So we use the concept of super type and subtype so that we differentiate it. But the main thing is at the end in the database we will not have these tables. Contract table will not have, part-time table will not have, full-time table will not have. We only have one table in the physical database, that is employee table only we'll have. Okay, let me quickly show that. So if you see, right, doctor, do we see any table associated here anywhere? And if you see this, do we see any table? Again, same thing with this one, subtype person only we have, but we mentioned the super type, but we do not have any table associated. And when it comes to the super type, we have a table associated. That means all the entries whatever we have subtype entities will again go and sit in the super type entity table only. They will not, subtype will not have separate table in the physical database. That's the main thing we have to remember.
Okay. Here, when we fetch the data from the database, right? Say for a part-time employee, I need some data needs to be populated on the screen.
Correct.
Internally, how it fetches only the
So
data
yeah,
to this.
there is a typecasting concept. We'll have it. So we have to cast that as a contact. Like first, let's assume this is a contract, right? We have to cast it as typecast is as an employee and fetch it. So we'll query in the employee table only. There will not be object. Will have contract object in the code goes up, but we have to typecast it as an employee. When we query, right, we query it on the employee based on certain whatever is the restrictions or conditions. So we query the employee table and fetch it, not the contract.
Okay, I understand on a theory level, but
That's what it will come in the gosu when you get into the yeah. So first basic understanding is like data model is theoretical part itself, and how to do the relationship is what the main thing, like how to create an array, how to configure it, how to do the filters, type filters, all these are the data model hands-on. So then when it comes to the gosu hands-ons, so you'll get to know what it is, how do we do it. Okay, so even if you 1 minute, yeah, so even if you I had it somewhere in the screenshot, let me, yeah, so this one, so let's say this one person entity, not the subtypes, yeah. So if you see, right, contact is a main entity and it has three fields A, B, C, and the subtype entities are person and company, and they have few fields D, E, and F, G. But in the tables, the table looks like this, CC underscore. As we are working on claim center, it will have CC and whatever name we provide in the studio contact. So CC underscore contact will be the table. It will have all the fields, both from this, and this. All will be sitting in the main entity table only. You understood what it is? How it looks?
yeah, yeah. But what if we have any duplicated column name? Say A in company, it is also.
It will stop it. Yeah. Same time, same thing, like during the server startup, it will throw an error. It cannot recognize it in the while you do the code. Let's say if you see we have a notes, right, column, and I want to add it here. I want to add a notes. See if you see, right, notes long text. What is an allocate? An allocate to. It will not throw. See, right?
Yeah.
It is throwing it itself here itself. So some see basically it will throw, it will stop it, but it again depends on whether it is on the build level or at the server level. So here
Yeah.
we got the error at the build level itself. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
It, Guidewire is like so the water error it throws, right, it will give a specific description, proper description. With that, it is kind of readable only. So with that, we can easily resolve that errors. So whatever is the error, if it comes also, so it will give a proper description. You see, a field with names is already defined at what's the location. It also mentioned in the contact ETA at line 186. Okay, go to contact ETA, go to line 186, Control Z, go to 186. If you see, right, notes with long text, it is very proper, like erroring or error things are like properly given. Where am I? Yeah. So just go through the notes quickly with the subtype. Okay. You understood the concept, right? Basic understanding, like why we use subtypes. Basically, like a way of providing one, dividing the entity into several related entities for to create the hierarchical thing. So the basic definition is like adding different information at each entity level, which is that entity specific only. Okay. Info common to all types is stored at the super type. That is like on the high level entity, we'll store this, which is common information or fields which are common to all the subtypes. So subtype will have at most one row, I mean one super type. We cannot have multiple super types associated with a subtype. So the first thing is subtype, super type should not be final. Final, we cannot create subtypes. So if you see, right, there is a entity property called or final. If I click on entity, there is a property called final. If we make it as true, we cannot create a subtype of it. So final has to be false to create a subtypes. Okay. Here if you see, it is false. Final, if it is true, we cannot create the subtypes. So I gave an example like how it is. So one more thing is like abstract also has to be true. So for the so that subtypes can be created. So if you see the element abstract, so abstract should not be
On the super class, it should be true, I think.
true. Yes. Where is the abstract field? Yeah. Abstract should be true so that the subtypes can be created. The same. If it is false, subtypes cannot be created again. So this is the understanding of supertype and subtype, and with the examples.
What does it mean here, like exposure rule?
Sorry?
What is the meaning of exposure rule?
Exposure rule.
Yeah,
So
the
basically,
last definition.
no, it's just an entity name.
What is it, right? Subtype cannot be.
This, if you see, right, abstract, if you make this field property as false, we cannot subtype it. That's what.
Oh, okay. Just a random property.
Random, yeah, random. I took some
Taking
random.
it false,
Yeah,
we can create
random example for your reference. You can go to anything. Okay. whatever it came up on at that time, I took it. So definition, I mean, all fields in the child, I mean, parent entity are inherited by child. So methods also will be available like inheritance concept. Top level entity or abstract entities cannot be instantiated but can be subtype. Just like these are Java concepts, like you cannot create instances of top level entities but create instances of its subtype if it is false. So like how many of you have idea on like oops concept or Java concept like inheritance, abstract implementation, abstract classes, those things?
Basic understanding.
Yeah. So I just want you to have a just for basic understanding. If you have some time over this week, just go through those like inheritance, abstract, just a high level, not to remember, just to as a listen, just listen it, so that you'll just get some information like what it is, what's oops or object oriented means, just the high level things, because those are the like base kind of things. So here if you see right inheritance concept, somewhere you will see abstract implementation concept, those things. Just for understanding, if you have some time, you spend it. Even if you do not, it's fine. What else we have? This is an example. Okay. Now linking like we'll do at the end, like once we are done like creating these. So I should have moved it to the third lecture, but I had it second. So like I told, right, we have a few linkings between the entities like foreign key, arrays, one-on-one, many, these. So basically 99% we use only these two, foreign key and array. This and all like generally even this one-to-one implementation is done with the help of foreign key only. Many is like never used. It is not suggested to use also. Many relation. It might cause lot of problems. Okay, this will be done. I'll tell after we create the entities first. Like third lecture is the entity creation or like how, what is this, and then we'll come to the second lecture. Yeah. So data model file structures, where actually it is present, how to create it, and what it is. Do you need a break for 2 minutes? Or? Any questions meanwhile, like what on the first lecture?
So just in general, I want to know what kind of, well, we work in the real environment, right?
That's
so
right.
what kind of like scenarios will be there as a you know
Yeah.
developer, like what we have to do?
Correct.
Like
Yeah, got it. What's who was it? Like,
Deepti.
okay. So basically, let's say your organization is currently implementing only one line of business. Okay. Usually, some of the projects only have personal auto, and there is a new implementation or new line of for line of business has to be implemented. That is like personal, commercial auto or homeowners or something. So in that case, you have to do the data model changes also. So I was telling the example of like commercial line also. You can go on mute. It is getting stuck. So let's say the requirement is like commercial line of business has to be implemented by the policy center. Okay. So assume like you have to capture the commercial vehicle details. Okay. So for that, right, so they'll ask you have to do the data model first. They will business tells like what are the fields or information that should be captured. So basically they will give a what do you mock-up screen. Let's assume like this is a screen they want us to implement. They'll give a mock-up screen of this. Okay. So you have to frame your data model, like you have to create entities, like assume like these all we are specific to vehicle, right? So this all has to be going under commercial vehicle. Let's assume these are specific to commercial vehicle only. So these all fields should go into the commercial vehicle entity. And again, so how do you figure out make is a text. So while doing the data model creation, entity creation, you will create a column with the name make, and the data type is text. And here you make it a data mod entity, and then the name column with the name year, and the type is integer. Now this one, if you see, is style. So if if they tell these, okay, when the business tells like, okay, when I select this, I want 20 values. So before that, first doing this, you have to create the type list of style. You will go and create a type list with name style, and you'll add all these type codes into the type list. Okay, and refer this type list into this vehicle entity. The same way, if the first is, you will see whether you have any drop down values. Here vehicle type. Okay, you will select all the vehicle types. 5 6 are there. You will create a type list for vehicle type. So last party first, and again refer those. So that is how you frame the data model first thing. Okay, based on the screens. So some usually like the requirements or the high level project is like a new line of businesses or enhance the projects. So if it is new line of business, you will need to touch or create the new entities and data model. Basically, data model includes both type list and entities. Now comes to the second part. It is driver related information. So you have to have a driver things. Citations, if it is already there, you do not need to have any citations entity. If it is not there, you have to have the citations entity. If I click on add, so all these details has to be stored in the citation table. So these, you need to create a citations with three things: citation number, authority, citation type, which is a type list, and you have to link it as an array to the driver, sorry, vehicle. One vehicle have multiple citations, so the linking has to happen. So that is how the work. You understood?
Yes, yes, got it. So we will practice this, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
I started with data model, right? Now we will try to create the data model. Now I'll
Okay.
ask you guys to get an example. Based on that, we will create the relationship, and then we will use that example in the PCFs. How to configure that? Okay.
Okay.
So if you see, right, in the previous classes, they had this some IT companies they told. If you see, right, they created this. They have this some IT companies. They were telling this and all. So we added an array this thing, and when we click on update, we will have this. And this is a list detail panel. So whenever we click on that, the specific details will come. So this is done by that people only, like non-IT guys only. Most of them are. Okay. So this is like complete screen creation. Okay, let me drink some water. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. Now comes the file structure in the data models. Like where do we do the code? Okay. So if you see, right, there are two things. So 1 second. So this configuration is what we have it first thing, and inside that we'll have config. So this is part where will be the configuration part will be done. So goes main GSRC, these and all are like not related for a configuration developer basically. So config, I think I modified it. Okay. So if you see, right, there is a metadata folder and there is a extensions folder. Let me open the metadata folder. So it has both entity and type list. The same with extensions folder. So metadata is given by Guidewire. So as I told, right, Guidewire automatically will give the entire base application. all the things by default. So this one, if you see, right, we own in the studio, I mean application, we only did these three parts, one, two, three only we did. All the other things are right. It is automatically given by Guidewire itself. We did not touch or we did not create anything. It is automatically, even if we open dashboard administration, right? Everything is by default given by Guideware only. If you see, right, all these messaging queue, monitoring, all these, everything is given by Guideware. We just need to customize. I was telling, right, first thing, Guideware is customization. We have to customize based on the requirement. That's it. That's the major work we do. See, all this data and all, right, are automatically given. So if we want to use them, we use, or we delete and update in that table. So, okay. So if you see entities, these are the main entities. So there are few type of entities we have. So if you see here, right, one is .eti, one is .eax, okay, eax, one is eta. What is the difference? So one is base entities. So base entities ends with .eta. These are nothing but the entities given by Guideware. I will use GW. So entities given by Guideware are nothing but the base entities, and they have an extension .eti, and they are read only. We cannot modify it. If you open any of the ETI, you see it is a read only. Automatically, if you see highlighted with the yellow thing, .eti, and it's read only. We cannot modify it. And we saw one more thing called .eix. .eix. Okay, this is also read only, but they are internal extensions. So they are internal extensions. So they basically are created for internal purposes. That's it. We will never touch them. Just need to understand what it is. These are internal extensions, and they are created for internal purpose. We'll never touch it. That's it. So where do we do it? So these are all read-only files. Whatever there in the metadata, EIX and .eti are read-only files. So whenever a requirement comes, so where do we do it? In the extensions folder, we will do it. We will do. Close the metadata. Now open the entity. So here we have two things, .etx and .eta. Okay. So first let me tell what it is. So there may be scenarios, right? Like they want in the claim. Currently, if the claim is there, automatically see the claim entity, right? Let me open claim entity. Claim.eti. So if you see, right, all the details are automatically there by default, which are generic to all the claims. So all the details are there. So assume like we base entity here, it is a read only, like claim dot ETI is the base entity, and now the insurance company tells, okay, I want to capture the information of the third party insurer. Like let's say now your vehicle met with any doubts? Okay, so let's say your vehicle met with an accident, and you are is person A, and you met your vehicle is A, and you met with an accident with B. Okay, now here B is the third party. B is the third party and A is your vehicle first party, and I want to know this B's insurance company details, or the insurance company details in the claim. So currently it is not there. So I want to capture this information also in the claim itself. So whenever this accident happened, and you'll have can someone go on mute? Who was it? Okay, fine. So let's say you met with A met with an accident with B, and A is the primary insured, and whenever he was trying to claim for that, right, he'll have the loss details, like where the location of the loss, what's the root cause of the loss. They'll capture and store it, but the insurance company also wants to capture the information of the third party, which is B insurance company, like who is providing insurance for this company. So now we need to add in the claim entity, we need to add one more field. In the claim entity, we need to add one more field, like third party insurer. We need to add that so that we can enter it in the UI. Okay, so if you see, right, there is a section called loss details. Like here we usually enter like what's the loss, what's the description, date of loss, what's the reason. All these we will mention. So here I want one more field which states third party insurer, who is insuring the third party. So that details also I need to capture. So that I have to add a column third party insurer. But if you see, right, claim.eta is in the metadata folder, and it is not it is only readable, we cannot write on it. So for that purpose, so we have a entity extensions concept, entity extension, that is extending base entities. So how does it, like, it will create an entity extension with the name or type as .etx, and here we will add the column third party insurer, so that it will be available for that, like claim. So instead of modifying it, as we cannot modify as it is a read only, we will extend it in nothing but entity extension, and add the name, the column third party in that newly created entity extension. So that's what we saw in the studio, sir. If you see, right, that is what the extension means. If you see, there is a claim.etx. Okay, so let's say I want to add a column. I'll do here it. What it is, third party insurer. Type is, currently I'll give it as a text, short text, null, okay, and validate it. If you see, right, bottom, it will do generating metadata configuration, done, no issues. So that is how we add a column to the existing entity. But so this is nothing but entity extension. How do we create that entity extension? Go to the extension. Always whenever you do some modification, you will be doing it in the extensions folder only. Go to extensions, entity, right click, new. There is a concept called entity extension. Okay, click on it. Select the entity which you want to select. So let's say I want to do it for, as a claim is already there, we cannot do. If I what happens if I do, it will throw an error telling already. If I click on it and click on OK, it will throw file claim.etx already exists, try different file name. Let's say claim contact role. Let me assume. 1 second, guys, someone entered. It's not okay. Yeah, Bharat.
Copy. So how do we know that which is the right entity that we need to be extended? Since like if the context will be in both account level and sometimes in policy level also, right?
That's what the business specifies it. So to which it needs to be associated. So with
it will be in the requirement.
Correct. It has to be in the requirement. Otherwise, if If you mention in some other details, it will contradict. It will be straightforwardly given in the requirement that it has to be associated to this only, not to that. So even if it is not given, you have to raise a question like, so which specific? So that's the role of the developer. So when first thing, right, whenever requirement comes, you need to analyze it first. So
Yeah.
what are the impacted areas? Like let's assume, so if you if you do not question them, like what happens is at some point you will get questions when you do the coding. So then you will assume, okay, not this, not that. So you should not, that analysis has to be done in the first day itself. Whenever the requirement comes, take some time after the handover of the story, take some time, see how it can be done, and then come up with the questions and post them in your with the BA or business, like okay, this might be a contradictory or this might be like something. So what should be, then they'll take some time and they'll give a proper thing. So
Okay.
yeah, so if you see, right, I did not do anything automatically. Just I clicked on entity, right click, new entity extension, and selected it and clicked on OK. Automatically for a claim contact role there is an ETX created, nothing but a entity extensions. So if you see, right, all the fields which were there in the main entity, this one claim entity role, whatever are there, it automatically came here. And we can just add one more whatever fields we require based on the requirement or the business requirement, we will add it. Okay, so this is the concept of entity extensions. ETI is the base file which is read only, and we can have one entity extensions, not more than one entity extensions for any base entity that will have the same name but with a different type entity, I mean different what do you call this, dots, file type. Dot .etx and dot .etx. ETI is base entity, ETX with the dot with the same name, but dot .etx, it is an entity extension. So why do we need entity extension? To add or improvise or improve the functionality or increase the, we add new fields to the base entities or to increase the functionality of the base entity.
Gopi, ETI is a file that given by the Guidewire people.
Correct.
We are extending and we need that will be reused in ETX files.
Correct.
So there is a file EIX, right? EIX, internal extensions.
Yes.
Like, that will be developed by ourselves.
No, that's what I told you. So it is by Guidewire only. They are using it for their internal purpose. Like, so if you see, right, they all did these things in the studio first. All these whatever you saw, right, it was done. So for them to come up with these values and all, right, they have to do it. So they use that internal extension for these purposes, like having this base code setup. So we will not touch them, we will not use them. Maybe we can use it, but we will not modify them, or we will not create any extensions on top of it. Got it? Yeah. Okay. So this is ETX and EIX. ETI and ETX. Now next comes one more. If you see, right, in the end, one we saw ETX, and there is one more ETI. Okay, what it is? So ETX we are done. Like there is one more dot ETI. So this is nothing but custom entity. So how it is done? What is it actually? We have dot .eti. Here also we have dot .eti. What is it? So it is base entity extension. This is a it is a base entity. It is a custom entity. Like there is a new requirement. So our requirement is to, like I told, right, our requirement was to capture commercial vehicle details. So commercial vehicle, whatever we created, right, that is nothing but a new or a customer required entity, and it is called as a custom entity. So it will automatically have .eti fold name. So how we'll do it? Here go to entity, right click, there is a thing called new entity. I think I showed it already. Customer, vehicle, something I'll give. Entity, type is entity, description, whatever you want you can give, blah blah blah. These things will cover at some point. Table name and click on OK. If you see, right, this is .eta. The vehicle name is customer vehicle and the table name we have mentioned. So that is how it is. Like we'll add basing on the business requirement, we'll add columns as I told, right, based on this screen. Let's
Yeah, Aditya, like when creating an entity, we're having different types, right? Once can you explain that?
What is it? That's what I'll
No,
cover.
while creating it.
Yeah, I'll cover it up. You saw it, right? You are asking this, right? These retirable and all.
Yes.
Yeah, this I'll cover up. These are updated entities, updated brands and all. So this will be covered up. Retirable one. If I cover it at the main, we will divert it from the main part. So updated entities are like policy period, updated bank. That's the bigger concept. First you need to understand the base and then we'll slowly go to that topic. Okay. Any questions? Hello?
No.
Okay. So those things we can cover because updated entity is like a bigger concept. Updated entity will have these things, slicing concept. It will have effective date, expiration date. And updated branch will have policy, policy period, which is all the updated entities. So it's a bigger concept. So that will be covered in the policy center configuration classes. So if I cover it now, it will completely what you say divert from the main concepts. So these all will have some relations like how to do. So basically retirable is the one we use. So retirable is like, so there will be a row called retirable. So that will be true 0 or 1. If you make it as 1, so it is retired. That is like hard, a soft delete of a table. We'll have it, but we'll just retire it.
Yeah, we cannot delete the row, but we can retire.
That's what. Retirable is what generally we use. These again all are like complex. So main we use updated and updated branch. We will not touch these other non-keyable. We will never use them. Only two things we use is updated and updated branch. And if you have, if you are into working into any project, if you go to policy period, you will see it as updated branch. And if you go to vehicles, policy vehicle, you will see updated as. So those are like let's I'll quickly give an example. Let's say your policy vehicle has color. Take policy. You're having a policy from 2025 January 2026 January 1 year, and your vehicle color is white. And during the policy, whenever you took the policy, your vehicle color is white. And after 2 months, you change the vehicle color to blue. Okay. Now in that scenario, so if you have only normal column, right, vehicle color and this thing, so after updating, right, the changing the policy change, the vehicle is changed to blue color. So every time you will see only blue color, that white information is gone for good, right? So you will not get white information, white color which was there earlier. So for that scenarios to capture, so we'll use a updated entity. So that, so what happens is there will that row, first row, like with the white color row, they'll have two columns like updated effective date and expiration date. So in that, effective date will be 01/2025 and expiration date will be March 2025 for a white color. And whenever you update it to blue color, there will be new row inserted with the same records, but the color will be updated to blue color column, and effective date will be March 2025 and expiration date will be 2026. So that's a little complex concept. Even if I tell you now also, like people will, what you can say, completely get out of the scope. Okay, any questions? That's again completely into policy. You'll not have it in the claim center, that effective date concepts or effective date branch. Effective date branch basically it's like all the effective date entities are mapped to the updated branch entity. So this dot ETI, whatever we use, created is a custom entity and it has dot ETI. Where was I was diverted? Okay. So this one is we have, and we can add the columns based on the requirements. So I was about to show this screen which I was telling, right? Yeah. Let's say we were taking the new vehicle details, and all these details. Assume it's as a commercial vehicle. We'll add all these columns into the newly added entity like this, and save it. And corresponding, if there are any type lists, we'll add it. So that we will do it. Okay. So few best practices we have to follow, the namings and all. I'll go through the notes and I'll explain. So that is like a high level, like what are the entity types. So the question comes for basic like 2-3 years experience guys, like what are the entity types we have. So base entities, one which are like given by Guidewire itself. You have to go by the folder. So first start with the metadata folder. You tell like there are two read-only entities which are base entities and internal extensions. Base entities are .eti files which are given for by the Guideware, and .eix file which are internal extensions which are used for internal purposes. And then the custom entities, or in the extensions folder, we add the custom entities or extend the base entities. When we extend the base entities, the type is .etx, and we add a based on the customer requirements. If we add a new entity, it is .eti. Okay. Now comes the let me go through the notes. It will be easy. So base application entities, any entity in the metadata folder with .eti file. Example claim.eti. I showed the folder where it is present, metadata entity. These are read only. Okay. So again, if there is a column called the platform. If you see, right, property called platform. So platform is like base to all these claim center, policy center, and billing center. So if it is true, that means it is available from the not only from these, that it is common to all the policies, all the centers. If platform is true, that means it is common to policy center, billing center, and claim center. If it is false, then that is policy center specific or claim center specific or billing center specific. That's it. If it is true, it is common to all these three. Just for understanding, that's it. We will not use them. Entity with final is equals to true cannot be subtyped. An entity with extendable is false cannot be extended. That's what I was asking to go through the Java classes, Java high level. You will have these extension, abstract, final, what's the use. Okay. So platform entities are common to all Guideware applications. Like general ones are activity and user. Okay, and application specific or are claim, invoice, and all. Okay. So how it looks and what are the location it has. Okay. So that is the base entity. And when it comes to custom entities, like ones which we created, like we created commercial vehicle, right? That is a custom entity. So I did not follow the naming conventions while creating. So I thought of telling it now. So first thing is they are present in the extensions folder, and similar to that base entities, it also has .eti file. So for upgradation purposes, Guideware tells us to have the names. I'll now update the names. The custom entities, the suffix we should have, the name on the name of suffix, name of entity should have suffix underscore ext. So our name is like customer vehicle, right? Sorry, customer vehicle we created. So that is not the proper thing. We should have underscore ext, okay, the name of the entity for best practices and for upgradation of the projects, okay. And the field names can be anything. The columns, whatever we have, right, it can be anything. It is not necessary to have those underscore ext. So only the name of the entity should be having it. Okay. Like testing underscore ext, custom entities cannot be extended. So base entities can be extended. Like if you go to this, so we have this customer vehicle. Now let me do an entity extension for custom vehicle entity. What was it? Customer. If you see, right, we will not find it. That means we cannot extend custom entities. Already we were working. So how many columns it may be, hundreds or 200, we can have it in this entity only. But we cannot extend one more entity. As it is the customer defined, we can add any entity, any column here. So that is custom entities, and then comes the entity extensions like claim.etx, whatever we had, right? That is the custom this one, entity extensions. So for the best practices, best practice is to have, so this third party insurer, whatever we had, right, then column names, that should end with ext. Whatever we did is wrong. It should end with ext for best practices and for upgradation purpose. Here only the name should have, the custom entity name only should have, but whereas in this extension, right, entity extensions, the column should have. That's the thing we have to remember. These are common interviewer questions.
Could you just please last 2 points again? Just the last 2 points.
Yeah, okay. So custom entity, I mean the entities which are created, like assume we created customer vehicle, right? With
Right.
.eti, the name has to be ended, or the suffix should be underscore ext. The columns are not necessary to have the suffix. It can have any business required names. Whereas the entity extensions like claim.etx, for these we only add columns or fields. The fields should be suffixed with .ext. So I'll show claim.etx, we added this, right? This is not the one. So our thing has to be underscore ext. So this is the best practice. So this is the best practice. And this customer vehicle, whatever we created, I'll go to the location. This one I'll rename it. So it has to be underscore ext. Refactor. Do refactor. This is, now we are good shape. Requiring file and entity, customer vehicle. The name is not written file, so I created it here. That's what the problem is. Once you create it, it will be hard to update. You got it, like here in the entity extensions we had the field names with underscore ext. For custom extensions we only have the name of the entity. And the last one was the internal extensions.eix, which we saw in the read only of the metadata folder, right? So contain extensions to the platform that are required for base functionality. They are required for the base applications only, like base application purposes only. They will have it and cannot be modified. They are present in this folder and for base application purposes. Examples are EIX or those things. These are not used basically. Okay. Type list and type list extensions we will cover in the next class. Okay. Before that, you guys can confirm with your respect. Let me stop the recording.